Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Ontario Reign defenseman Jacob Doty. Jacob, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great, I'm doing great. Thank you again for coming on.
No worries. Glad to be here.
You know, lots of people have been watching Tiger King, Ozark, and Outer Banks. You know, basically a lot of Netflix shows. What have you been doing during quarantine?
Got a 16-month-old son, so I've been chasing him around. Got a nice little home garage set up, so working out, and then at night, just finished True Detective last night actually. So watched all three seasons of True Detective, and watched Tiger King early on in the quarantine. So yeah, I've been getting my TV into.
Have you ever watched the sports that have returned, such as auto racing and NASCAR and soccer with Bundesliga?
No, I haven't. I just kind of been keeping up with it on Twitter and stuff. I haven't sat down to actually watch any of the sports, but you know, maybe might try and catch a soccer game here this weekend coming up. Actually, I guess I should say I've been watching the UFC fights.
Oh yeah, UFC has returned. How surreal is it to have, you know, like you can literally hear the punches and the impact of the punches now without the fans?
I know, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. You know, it's different seeing the fighters walk out with no fans and stuff. And like I said, hearing the contact of the punches and kicks has been kind of a crazy experience. But, you know, I kind of like that stuff. So that's all right with me.
Now let's get into your story here. Who influenced you to start hockey?
You know, I would have to say just the local junior team where I grew up, Billings, Montana. At that point, it was called the America West Hockey League, which was, you know, the Tier 1 junior at the time. And my parents just started going to those games. And when I was old enough, I started going to those games myself. And then, you know, I just kind of took off from there. Started skating, and I'd say that's the junior team. And then, you know, when I was old enough to pick my favorite players, those guys on that junior team. So I'd say those were my influence.
Like you said, you grew up in Montana. What sports team or teams did you cheer for?
My favorite hockey team was the Avalanche. So they're 8 hours away. And then baseball, I like the Mariners actually. They're pretty close. So don't really have a favorite football team, but those are kind of the popular picks in Montana, being we don't have our own major sports teams. So those teams that are close seem to be the most popular.
Was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
Joe Sakic, for sure. He was definitely my favorite player. You know, I didn't end up being like him all that much, but you know, I'd say he was my biggest influence, by far my favorite player growing up. And you know, I just thought he was so fun to watch. Played hard for being a guy that wasn't very big, and you know, so definitely my favorite player. And Peter Forsberg was awesome. Patrick Waugh played with a lot of fire, and you know, so just anyone on those Avalanche teams in the early or mid '90s, I should say, were a big influence for me.
What is it like for you growing up as a kid to now see like Sakic in a GM role, or you know, Waugh in an advisory role with teams?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, obviously those guys have great hockey minds, and you know, anybody who plays that long like those guys did, you know, I think they're suited very well for those roles that they're in. Obviously, Joe Sakic's done a really good job in Colorado, and you know, I think they've got a contending team there, and you know, they should be good for years to come.
Would you be able to speak upon your road to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been long, windy, lots of stops along the way. You know, I started out in the WHL, played 4 years in the Dub, then kind of bounced around between the American League and the East Coast League, a couple of years over in the UK, or a year and a half in the UK, I should say, back to the East Coast, and then, you know, scratched and clawed my way back in the American League this last season. So it's been a wild ride. I'm going into my 7th year pro whenever the season does start, and you know, it's if I must say myself, it's longer than I thought I'd be playing when I was a little kid. So, you know, I'm just enjoying each day, each season as they come, and it's been fun.
Did you ever reach the Memorial Cup with the 2013-14 Medicine Hat Tigers?
No, we ended up losing in the conference finals to Edmonton, and they actually ended up going on to the Memorial Cup that year. So, I think we lost in maybe game 5 or 6. But we had a good run. It was fun. As one of the only playoff runs. My 2 years in Medicine Hat are the only playoff runs I've been on in my hockey career, which is kind of crazy to say, but that was a great time in my life. I loved Medicine Hat, loved Seattle, and I think back fondly of those days.
How do you cherish those memories?
I loved everything about junior hockey. Both Seattle and Medicine Hat. I think I talked to a lot of my former teammates in junior. There's a handful of us still playing. Some guys at university, and some guys that are just working. So, I talked to a handful of those guys still, and we keep in pretty good contact. And these guys from Medicine Hat are trying to get together at some point soon here. So hopefully we can get that done.
Like you said, you basically had to scratch and crawl your way back into pro hockey. Does going undrafted provide any motivation for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a little bit, but at the same time, with the season I had in my draft year, I didn't put up a ton of points. Just the way I play in general is not going to catch your eye that often. I'm more of a grinder and, just kind of do the things the right way, fly under the radar a little bit. So when I went undrafted, it wasn't a huge surprise, but, I was able to get a camp invite right after the draft and went to camp in Florida as an 18-year-old. And I was just happy with that, honestly. It's anytime you're going to an NHL training camp is a special thing, and especially being from where I'm at, Montana, hockey's not very prevalent. So,
yeah.
I was happy with that. And honestly, the NHL training camp wasn't even on my radar before it actually happened. So it was a pretty cool thing, actually.
You started your career in the East Coast with the Alaska Aces. What did that mean for you?
Oh, that was awesome. I wasn't sure what to think. I didn't know if I was going to be staying in Chicago to start the year or go to Alaska. I wasn't too sure. I thought it could have gone either way. And, when I got told I was going to Alaska, and me and 3 or 4 other guys hopped on a flight at 7 p.m. and flew overnight to Alaska, got off the plane, and went right into the season. But, I was there till I think I played 50-something games in Alaska that year. And, it was a great experience for me. Kind of broke into pro hockey, got to get my feet wet a little bit, learn the ropes. We had some great veterans on that team that, I picked their brains and learned a lot from those older guys on that team. So Alaska had actually won the Kelly Cup the year before and had a few returning guys there. And, so it was great to learn from those guys to start my career. And, I had a great time, and I think it, kind of set me off into the American League at the end of the year. And the next year I had a good base of what pro hockey was about after being in Alaska, and I think it helped a lot.
Would you say that the East Coast League and the AHL are different play styles?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say the East Coast League is more run and gun, and there's lots of chances back and forth, 3-on-2, 2-on-1. A lot more special teams, I would say, in the East Coast League as well. Whether that's to do with refereeing or play style, I'm not sure, but I think the American League's more system based and not as offensive and faster than the East Coast. But I mean, hockey's hockey at the end of the day, but they definitely do have their differences.
You played 3 years with the Chicago Wolves, and during that 2015-16 season, you amassed 163 PIMs, a bit of a goon yourself. How did you earn that role?
That's something I just started doing when I was young. I think I was 14 when I got into my first fight, and thankfully it went pretty well. And I kind of decided that I liked to do it, and then I did it through junior as a 15-year-old, playing tier 3. and then into the Western League at the start of a 16-year-old year and did it. And, it's just kind of something I've done since my first fight. And, it's not something I planned on, but, I feel that I'm pretty good at it. I enjoy it, like maybe some guys that do that play that role don't enjoy it, but I thoroughly enjoy fighting and, playing a rough and physical style. So it doesn't bother me at all like it does some guys you hear talk about. But, it's, yeah, I don't know. There's not much else to say. I mean, I enjoy doing it and I'm good at it. And it's honestly, I wouldn't be playing professional hockey if that wasn't part of my game. So, it's just kind of one of those things.
Like you said, you grew up basically fighting each game. With the enforcer role diminishing, does that diminish you by any means?
I don't think so. I've definitely had to change the way I go about my summers. I'm trying to get faster. I've dropped, 15 pounds over the last couple of years, just trying to get faster and leaner and more explosive just to be able to play. And, that's something that I feel like a lot of guys that played that style, obviously there's not very many guys that play like that anymore. And for me to be able to keep playing, I definitely had to, put in some extra work to become faster. And, I feel like I'm able to play the game, but I've never been a great skater. So definitely put that work in. I'm in the best shape of my life right now, headed into next season. So I'm excited about that. And, we'll see what happens, but I feel like, to be able to play, you have to be able to skate nowadays. Obviously it's a very fast game. And, so that's just kind of one of those things. If you can't skate, you aren't going to play. So, that's just kind of come along the past couple of years, but, I'm excited to see what happens here. I've had a good summer so far, and, with the extended break due to Corona, I think I can capitalize on that and head into next season, feeling good.
Do you reach out? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, that was it.
Do you reach out to the players post game after they fight you?
Some guys, if I fought them a couple times, or, I've had a few times, like a few guys I've fought a few times, I'll talk to them after the game or that kind of stuff, talk to them throughout the game, make sure they're all right, no injuries and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's just kind of one of those things that stays on the ice. And if you see them after the game, there's no hard feelings. I'm not that kind of guy that holds grudges, and, I'm never going to escalate things off the ice ever with anybody. So I just kind of look at it as part of our job, and it is what it is.
You played in one Calder Cup playoff game in your rookie season with the Chicago Wolves. How did you soak in that moment?
It was awesome. As we were playing Utica in the first round, I actually played game one. It was fun. Like I said, growing up, I didn't think pro hockey was really a possibility for me. So to be playing pro hockey and playing in the American Hockey League playoffs was a special thing. And, wish I could have stayed in the lineup for the rest of the series, but we ended up losing in game 5. And, just kind of one of those things. But it was great to, have a little bit of playoff experience, and, it's just a good time.
During your rookie season, did you have any rookie lap?
Rookie lap, like
how so with the NHL if they have a rookie, they let them do one full lap around the ice as a little prank to them.
Yeah, no, I didn't have anything like that actually. We just kind of, because I started in Alaska, obviously, so we had a handful of rookies. We didn't really do anything like that. And then went to Chicago in February, I think, is when I got called up. So, they were just already into their regular things, so we didn't really do anything like that.
How big was the move, not only for you, but your family in 2017-18 when you went on to the British Pro Leagues?
That was a kind of obviously a big move, moving across the world, but, my wife, it was just my wife and I at that time, and we were kind of excited to, take a next step in my career. I guess can't really say take a step because it's, you know, similar leagues, but to the East Coast, to the UK. But, you know, it was just fun, and we needed something different. I think, you know, I wasn't too happy playing in the East Coast League that year, and we were just ready for a fresh start, and to go to the UK was fun, and we really enjoyed our time in Glasgow, and you know, it was a good thing for us. We really enjoyed it.
How did you hear that the AHL was shutting down for the season?
Just went to the rink one morning, you know, expecting to practice, and we had a note on the board say meeting in 15 minutes or whatever, meeting at 8:05 or whatever, and you know, GM just came in and said we're postponed for now, and go home, quarantine, and we'll be in touch. And so we hung around. I hung around in LA for about, I think it was a week. My wife happened to be at home already, so I was just hanging out by myself, and you know, finally we got the call to go home, like to our home cities. So I packed up the apartment and drove home, and then whenever the season was actually canceled, you know, it was a month or two after I got back to Montana. So it was a different thing, but you know, everyone was kind of in the same boat. But yeah, we came to the rink to practice one morning and got put on pause. So it was crazy things, crazy times.
That must have been such a somber meeting, or like, you know, you guys are just, you know, the GM walks in, he's like, yeah, well, you know, we're gonna have to postpone the season. We can't play hockey. You know, you guys can't be around each other.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting time for sure. I think we all kind of knew, you know, we heard whispers that was going to happen anyway. So I don't think it was a huge shock to anybody, but still, having it actually happen was crazy, different for sure.
What's a typical game day for you?
I think just get up, eat breakfast. In Ontario, we have breakfast at the rink. So, I guess get up, have a coffee on the way to the rink, breakfast, pregame skate, and then in Ontario, you actually drive. We practice out of the Kings facility, so you have morning skate there, and then drive to the game rink and get a nap in a hotel near the game rink, and then have a meal, and go to the rink, and get ready to play. So I say pretty standard game day for me. Nothing, no crazy superstitions or anything for me. Just kind of relax, get a few good meals in, and that's it.
How do you keep busy during a normal off season?
You know, I play a little bit of golf, work out, train. Now that I have my son, obviously spend a lot of time with him, and you know, golf when I can, and that's kind of it. Not much to it for me. Stay pretty relaxed. So,
throughout your playing career, who would you say is the best and worst teammate to room with on a road trip?
Ooh. Best roommate on the road would be Jordan Bennington. He was my roommate for my parts of the 3 years in Chicago. We had some good times. He's an interesting character, so he's always got something to say, and you know, he likes to laugh, so we had some good laughs there. And I've never had a bad roommate. I'm pretty easy to get along with. So yeah, I can't say anything bad about anyone.
Well, I don't want to reveal too much about you, but what would be your go-to shootout move if you were to get the chance?
Oh man. You know, I like to come in on the left side, you know, kind of swoop, and a little stick handle fake shot and high glove. So that's it. Hopefully,
sorry.
You got to look. Hopefully it's there, but yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Now, I hate to put you on the spot here, but do you have a funny story to share about your long career?
Oh man, that is putting me on the spot. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, I can't think of anything right now. I'll try and think of something and get back to you.
And well, I mean, last question here. Do you have any advice for aspiring hockey players that may look up to you?
Yeah, I'd say just you know, put in the work. You know, to be willing to put in the work to get what to where you want to be. But you have to have fun doing it along the way. So, find a way to make working out or training fun, and say enjoy everything about it. There's no point in doing something you don't enjoy. So I'd say that's the biggest thing for me.
Well, I'd like to thank, again, Ontario Reign defenseman Jacob Doty for joining me on today's Pagcast.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.